I will be talking about Sister Nivedita. Sister Nivedita life and teaching will be documented in couple of presentations. Today we'll talk about early life. Young Mary Noble was feeling anxious about the birth of her first child. Like all religion women, she vowed that if her child was born safely, she would dedicate it to the service of the Lord. And the vow was fulfilled. The child, Margaret Elizabeth Noble, lived a great life of consecration and earned the name Nivedita, the dedicated from her Guru, Swami Vivekananda. Disciple was, in true Hindu style, she offered the fruits of her labors at the feet of her Guru and Paramaguru by adding to her name Nivedita the attribute of Ramakrishna Vivekananda, thus pointing out the sanctuary whence she got light and strength. Nivedita's life can be divided into three distinct periods. First, from her birth to the time she met Swami Vivekananda. Second, from her being aware of the great call in her life to the passing away of our Guru. And third, when she emerged as a passionate, selfless worker. Thus runs the life story of a dedicated soul. Margaret Elizabeth Noble was born in Dangenau, Co-Tyrone on October 28, 1867. Her grandfather was John Noble. The Noble were of Scottish descent and had been settled in Ireland for about 5 centuries. In Ireland, in the 19th century, there arose a mighty upsurge for freedom. The formation of the Fenian, National Militant, and Home Rule and Land League movements was the result of waves of agitation against the tyranny of the English rulers who suppressed the Irish. The nature of the national struggle changed with every new agitation, but the goal remained unchanged, and it demanded the service of all Irishmen who were imbued with the spirit of nationalism and duty to their country. To this, Margaret's grandparents contributed their might. John Noble was a minister of the Wesleyan Church in North Ireland, and he acquired some distinction as a preacher. He was happily married to Margaret Elizabeth Nellis. Their fourth child was named Samuel Richmond. After the death of John Noble, when he was 56 years of age, the responsibility of bringing up her children entirely devoted on Margaret Noble, Samuel's mother. Samuel was prepared for the congregational ministry of the Lancashire Independent College. In time, he married Mary Isabel Hamilton, whose father Richard Hamilton too had participated in Home Rule movement. Samuel and Mary settled in the town of Dangenau in North Ireland, where their first daughter Margaret was born. He had 6 children, of whom only Margaret, May and Richmond survived. Following in his father's footsteps, Samuel then left with his wife for Manchester to become a student of theology in the Wesleyan Church. When he was ordained, he was sent to Oldham, but in 1876 he chose Great Torrington in Devonshire in the field of work. Little Margaret, who had been left with her grandmother all these years, now joined her parents. Margaret was her father's favorite, and whenever he conducted services or visited the poor, she accompanied him. But the strain of a hard and simple life told upon Samuel's health, and he died at the early age of 34. Margaret was then 10 years of age. He had not saved much for the family, and after a time, Mary Noble lost heart. Staying alone with 3 children in a foreign land, so she returned with them to Ireland and to her father, Hamilton. She went away for 2 years to London and took the kindergarten course, but this work did not enable her to earn enough to bring up her children. It was decided then that with her father's help she will run a guest house near Belfast and earn her livelihood. Samuel's religious zeal had made a deep impression on Margaret, and from her grandfather Hamilton she imbibed the spirit of freedom and love for Ireland. In due time, arrangements were made to send Margaret and May to Halifax College for their education. In the next session, we can see Halifax College was run by the chapter of Congregational Church, and the college and hostel life offered new opportunities to Margaret. To escape the boredom of the strict routine life in the hostel, Margaret devoted herself with zeal to studies, which intensified her desire to know more, and with her twin powers of concentration and perseverance, she made rapid growth. It was here that she developed an interest in music, art, and the natural science. After passing her final examination at the age of 17 in 1884, she took to teaching at a school in Keswick. In 1886, she went to Rugby to teach in charitable orphanage under one Miss Nicholson. In 1887, she took up a post of Wrexham in North Wales. It was coal mining area. She loved teaching and devoted herself to it with great enthusiasm. She had inherited from her father the spirit of service and love for the poor, and Wrexham, a mines centre, afforded her great scope for a work that she liked very much. Here she met a young engineer from Wales with whom she had ideas and interests in common. Their acquaintance soon developed into friendship and then later matured into love. They planned to be married, but before their engagement could be announced, the young man fell ill and died. Margaret was now alone and friendless, and it was with a heavy heart she left Wrexham for Chester in 1889. Her mind now naturally turned towards her family. May, her younger sister, was a teacher in Liverpool, and Richmond was a college student in the same town. Their mother was therefore asked to come over from Ireland to live with them. Thus, after years of separation, a fresh home was set up, and Margaret came occasionally from Chester to stay with them. Happily settled with her own family, Margaret engaged herself with keener interest in education than ever before. Her studies acquainted her with the ideas of Swiss educational reformer Pestalozzi and with those of the German Froebel, both of whom laid emphasis on the importance of preschool age of child. According to them, education should begin by gratifying and cultivating the normal aptitude of the child for exercise, play, observation, imitation, and construction. This noble and natural method of teaching greatly appealed to Margaret. Already a group of enthusiastic teachers in England had taken to this new thought and had tried to put into practice. In Liverpool, Margaret became acquainted with Mr. and Mrs. Longeman and Mrs. de Leroux, all of whom advocated the new education. Through them, she was introduced to the Sunday Club and the Liverpool Science Club, where her talks and writings were highly appreciated. At the end of the 2 years, Mrs. de Louis invited Margaret to help her to start a new school in London. She agreed, and in 1891 left Chester and settled with her mother in Wimbledon. The new experiment gave Margaret a great joy. As she gained experience, she determined to start a school of her own, and so in 1892 she began to work independently at the kindergarten school in Kingsgate School. Here there was no restriction set methods. There was no formal learning. Children were taught to do things. It was all play, but as they played they learned. Among the teachers appointed by Margaret was one Mr. Ebenezer Cook, a well-known painter of children's portraits. Through color and brush, she introduced the children in painting. Margaret was much interested in his work, and it was from him that she learned to be a critic of art. Gradually, Margaret grew into a mature educator. Her self-confidence grew along with her intellectual acumen and experience, and she became acquainted in London with some of the most learned and influential persons of that time. Among them was Lady Ripon and Lady Isabel Margerisham. They had formed a small literary quartet which later came to be known as the Sesame Club. A keen reader and thinker, Margaret soon became an active and enthusiastic member of this club, where famous writers such as Bernard Shaw and Thomas Hardy were regular speakers. Besides literature, discussions were held on ethics, politics, and kindred subjects. In 1892, when the Home Rule Bill for Ireland was before Parliament, Margaret spoke fearlessly in favour of it. Thus it continued with Margaret until 1895. In that year, however, the great Hindu yogi Swami Vivekananda went to London to preach Vedanta, and within a few months Margaret's life unexpectedly changed its course and purpose. We'll see more in the next video presentation how the life transformed and how Margaret was part of India and how it transformed India in the social, religion, and also in the freedom struggle. Thank you very much.